Our discussion next turns to the health consideration of stress. And this is universal. We all deal with this in one way or another. Personally, I think that this becomes particularly important right at the moment of college, given all of the things in one's life that might be happening in a new or unexpected or possibly objectionable way. As we've noted before, the lifestyle that we lead during college and higher education isn't necessarily an easy one. And so, as a result, we have no choice but to make sure we understand how to deal with the stress response. The question then, what is stress, is answered like this: it is the physiological response to a threat of one sort or another. And once upon a time, it was much more useful than it is to us now. That once upon a time deals with when we were living out of doors, when it was much more likely that our health or even our life would be threatened by a predator of some kind. The stress response was what allowed us to react quickly, both mentally and physically, that hopefully helped us to, stay alive. Um, Now, obviously, we are not using our stress responses to flee predators, but there's still plenty of stress out there. What began as a physiological response to a threat of one sort or another is now simply the body's way of responding to something that is difficult in an unexpected way. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that. And what it means is that really no longer is the conversation about simply avoiding stress. It's always there. It's almost impossible to get rid of. So we've got to think more about how to manage it than simply avoid it. So take a second now, and I'd like you to list out, either in writing of some kind or simply mentally, but either way, make sure to do it. List out some causes of stress that you're likely to experience at the same time that you're in college or higher education. Do that now. Once you've spent some time thinking about all of the possible sources of stress in your day to day life, think about the physical symptoms of prolonged stress. In other words, if we allow the stress response to keep on happening without taking steps to manage it at least, we're likely to have some or all of these things happen to us. They include a weakened immune system, digestive problems, elevated heart pressure, risk of diabetes, muscle and back pain, headaches, fatigue, and insomnia. That's not even thinking about the mental and emotional effects having to do with things like difficulty thinking and concentrating, poor memory, loss of emotional regulation, interpersonal problems, and some doctors even theorize that prolonged stress might have the effect on one's mental and emotional health of actually making it more likely that one could develop a mental illness of some kind. Although, again, that last one is more speculative than it is borne out by fact. Clearly, there are healthy and unhealthy ways to deal with stress. Healthy ways include things like talking to a friend, playing a game, reading a book that one enjoys, watching a movie you enjoy, getting some rest, allowing yourself to take time to exercise or find some other physical outlet. All of these things factor into the healthy ways of dealing with stress because the only side effects of any of them are also positive. All of those things are ones that I mention really in the context of the fact that there are opposite and unhealthy ways of dealing with it. And the primary ones that I want to acknowledge here are substance abuse or other things that could have a negative effect on one's body. Um, of all of these things, oftentimes we gravitate towards the unhealthy ways of dealing with stress because they can seem like the easier and faster ones. Sometimes they are, and sometimes in the very short term, these can be okay. The greatest danger comes if we come to rely upon these unhealthy ways of dealing with stress too often. And I think mainly of things like developing substance dependencies. If we have a beer to deal with stress, maybe once or twice that's acceptable, but allowing that habit to continue and develop is ultimately going to lead to a problem with that substance. So be warned. Prolonged stress might be a condition of life right now. We have to make sure, though, that we are doing things to benefit our livelihood and to benefit our health. Those are the healthy ways of dealing with stress, not the unhealthy ways, and certainly not those ways that have to do with any sort of substance use.